In this video, we are going to solve this exercise about understanding events. For that, we will have to create a React boilerplate and use JSX to do the following. One important thing here is, the first thing it is saying to create React boilerplate. So there are multiple ways of doing that. Here I am doing it in a basic simple HTML file by using three external packages, that is React, ReactDOM and Babel. And we are writing our JSX inside script. The reason I'm doing it this way, not by using create React app, is because when you use create React app, it takes a lot of memory and space. And here, for doing all these simple tasks, it is good to just use simple HTML to do that. So whenever you have little things to do, go ahead and use basic HTML by adding some script and start writing your JSX here. Only when you have to make a bigger application like the one we were creating earlier, like Gizmo or something, then you use create React app. Now let's move on to what we have to do. So first we have to create a button. When you click on it, it needs to alert a message hello React event. So let's go ahead and do that. So here the first thing we are going to do is, so we need to get access to this root element. So we'll say let root is going to be document.getElement by ID, and the ID we are looking for is root. So we got access to root. The next thing we need to do is to create our components. So what I'm going to do is, for each problems, I'm going to create one individual component. So we'll say function and we'll call it first. All it is going to return is a button component. And inside button, we need to have a message saying click me. And whenever that happens, we have to alert a message hello alert. So all it needs to return is click me, right? So what we are going to do now is we just need to render this first component onto DOM. So whenever you want to put anything on DOM, you use ReactDOM.render. It accepts two parameters. The first is the name of the component, that is first. And second is, where do you want to render it? I want to render it in root. So now when you refresh it, you will see you have a button called click me. Now what we need to do? We need to handle event on it. The way we handle event in React is by passing it as an attribute. So here we can say on click, it is going to do something. What is that something? It can just be like a normal function. So you can define that function outside, but here because we have to do a simple thing, I'm just going to write a function reference, and that function reference is going to just alert hello React event. So we'll say alert, and this is the message we have to alert. Now, when you refresh it and click on this button, you'll see this message hello React event. So our first component is done. Similarly, what we are going to do, we are going to create another component for next task. So in next task, we have to create a button with the text, how can I help you? So I'll go ahead and instead of click me, I'll change it to this, make it second. And now we have to handle click on it. And whenever you alert, you have to alert these three messages. So here we not only have to return one message, we will have to return three different messages. So we'll save it, first alert, second alert, third alert. We'll change the message here to the second message. Similarly, we'll have to change it to the third one. Now we also need to render this second component. And we know that when you are rendering, you can either render one component or you can render array of components. So I can just render array of components. So this will work, okay? So if you're sending an array of components, it will work properly. As you can see it here, when you click on this, you get three alert message and it is working properly. But maybe it doesn't look very elegant. So the simple way to fix it is by wrapping it into a fragment. So this looks very, very close to writing HTML. And that is why this looks better, right? Otherwise, you can just return an array. This looks like HTML, but array, it doesn't look like that. So that's why you can do something of this sort. Refresh it. When you click on click me, you get hello React event. When you click on this, you'll get your first alert, second alert, and third alert. So we are done with these things. Moving on to third. Here we have to create three buttons. So let's go ahead and create our next component. So I'll create our third component. We'll call it third. And here we need to return multiple buttons. So we know that whenever we have to do multiple things, it's good to just do it in the JavaScript way. So I'll just have a variable we'll call names that is going to be an array, and this will contain all the names. So Arya, John, and Bran. And here what we will do, we'll just say names dot map will get access to one name, and for each name we just have to return button. So here we'll just replace it with name. And next to second component, we'll just render third. And here when we refresh it, we can see three different buttons, Arya, John, and Bran. What we need to do, we need to add event listener on all three of them. So to handle event on all these three, we will have to say on click, and we need to pass a event handler. Now the event handler, if you take a look at our requirement, you'll understand that we have to alert a message saying hello Arya, hello John, or hello Bran on whatever button you are clicking on. So for that, we will have to pass a parameter. So we'll say alert, and here we'll say hello, and we'll replace that with the name of the user. And we'll save it. We'll refresh it here. When we click on Arya, it will say hello Arya, but when we click on John, it says hello John, and Bran will say hello Bran. So even the third task is done. We have to move on to last one. So here we have a variable called fruits. We have to map over this data and create buttons for each. Each button should have different text based on the value. When user clicks on the button, display the name of the fruit in alert. Don't forget to use key. We'll just store this data here on the name of fruits, and we'll create our fourth component, and we'll call it fourth. And here, rather than having data in the global scope, we can also just have it into our local scope of the component. So we'll define it like this. We'll map over fruits, and whenever you are mapping over things, you have to pass key. So we'll say key is going to be, so when we map over fruits, we'll get access to individual fruit, and fruit is an object, and first thing we need to pass is the key. Key is coming from fruit.id, and the value will come from fruit.value. And here it will also be fruit.value. We don't have to alert hello, so we'll save this. We'll remove all these things, we don't need it. And at last, what we need to do, we need to render this fourth component. So we will render our fourth component here, and we'll refresh it here. So what we can see now is we have multiple buttons. When we click on apple, we see apple. When we click on orange, we see orange. Clicking on grape gives us grape, and pear gives us pear. So in this way, we have completed this exercise of understanding events, specifically of type onClick.